What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise Postgame Show, the final edition of the Blazers Uprise Postgame Show for this preseason. Our next postgame show will be on the main channel, Blazers Uprise. So this was a preseason game that was, I don't know, man, it was a good first quarter, and then things went south, but at least you got some sort of encouragement. I was encouraged by that first quarter the Blazers played, and then they still end up losing by about 20-ish and finishing the preseason with an 0-4 record, which, it was probably a good thing, Eric, considering finals teams from last year, the Bucks and the Suns, were both winless in the preseason, so obviously we just needed to make sure we did not get the dub, and we did not get the dub tonight. So there are some takeaways. We're basically just going to break down this game in terms of the first quarter, because that was really good, and then the rest of it, which was pretty bad. So what is just your whole takeaway from this, Eric? The Blazers lose again, but I felt like they showed more flashes. Do you agree with that? Are you encouraged, or is this just something where they just have a lot of work left to do?
Yeah, so as you progress learning a new system, you just want to have moments where you do show what that system can do moving forward. So now you can look at the bad and say, hey, this is why it got away from us at this point in the game. But this is why we were built a 10-point lead and held them to 17 points in the first quarter. So I think despite getting blown out pretty much every game in preseason, I think having that quarter showing just what the system can do if you run it correctly, I think that'll be enough of a carrot at the end of the stick to keep these guys going and encourage that they're on the right path of improving it.
Yeah, and defensively, I think that was the main takeaway from the first quarter. I thought the Blazers did a really good job bottling up Steph, not letting him get free. He got free later on in this game, but overall in the first quarter, I thought the Blazers did a good job of trapping. They were trapping a lot, playing high on the screens, then rotating correctly behind that. The thing is Steve Kerr is a good coach, and he adjusted, and they started kind of picking that apart. So it was something that the Blazers needed to make a defensive adjustment to the Warriors' adjustment. That's the thing is in previous years, we're not talking about in-game adjustments when we're talking about the Portland Trail Blazers. This year, we're going to be having a lot of discussions in terms of making adjustments ourselves and maybe even adjusting to the other team's adjustments, which is just, I don't know, that's a new one. Right? That's a new one because we didn't adjust much last year. So the Warriors adjusted, start picking that apart later on in this game. But overall, I thought defensively, the first quarter was the best defensive quarter that we had in the entire preseason. Now, some people will say that's because Dennis Smith Jr. was starting instead of Damian Lillard, and I would agree that Dennis Smith Jr. is a better defensive player, but that wasn't the reason why it was our best defensive quarter. I thought the team was doing a much better job just getting out to shooters quick enough, rotating behind the trap, and then just being in the right spots. Their defensive intensity during the first quarter was a lot better than it was last game against the Suns, you could tell, and I expected that after Chauncey Billups called out their lack of intensity last game. So the first quarter is what we need to see for full games as we get into the regular season. The Blazers ended up getting up 10, and then it's the preseason. Teams are bound to coast at times during the game. You know what I mean? So the Blazers have always had a problem with getting up and then losing leads. I would be discouraged if they lost that lead if it was a regular season game and we were playing guys that are actually going to be in the rotation. However, I'm not surprised that we give up the lead pretty quickly, even though we had a double-digit lead in a preseason game, because it's hard mentally to stay locked into a game that just does not matter at all. So overall, that first quarter was fun to watch, encouraging. I just wish it could have been for the full game, but at least it was something.
Yeah, so we've talked about our 9 rotation players all preseason, and we didn't have 5 of those guys tonight. So when you talk about throughout the game or sustaining that for a full game, I think it's much easier when you have your full complement of players versus, playing all these guys who aren't going to play much. So I didn't think necessarily it was because of the end of the bench guys playing terrible or anything, but I mean, they played their starters pretty deep into the third quarter. I think Steph might have played the whole third quarter. So, I mean, they were playing all their guys, and we know they're not going to have Clay at the beginning of the season, but they were playing everyone else that they're going to play. So they weren't missing really any rotation guys. I think that'll play into the consistency factor, making it a little easier once you have your actual guys who will be in there with the bulk of the minutes. And then also, like, this is why you and I have talked since the beginning of Blazers Uprise about having a ball movement centered offense, because you can play great defense like the Blazers did at times tonight, and you still get beat with a wide open shot because they just know how to pass. They know how to move off ball. They set just one simple little off ball screen and it frees up Curry when he's doing nothing on the ball, and gets going that way. And then all of a sudden he can't be stopped because he got a wide open three and stuff like that. So I think we saw exactly what we were talking about in this game is, like, if you have an offense that moves the ball like that, even good defenses can't stop it. So I don't think it's necessarily means our defense is crap or sucks. I think it's just good teams take advantage of ways to exploit good defenses. And if you can't do that in the playoffs, you're never going to win a championship. So I think that's the kind of model we've wanted. And from what we've heard of Chauncey, he wants to play that same way, hopefully. And I think that's encouraging to look at a team. You can play good defense and shut Steph down for a quarter, but they still find a way to have like an awesome night for him. So I think it can be done, and I'm not as worried as a lot of other people.
Yeah. If you look at the turnover numbers tonight, it's actually encouraging compared to the first three games in which we had more than 20 turnovers. We had less than 20. We had 19. But a lot of those turnovers were coming from the bench unit with guys that won't play. Ben Mclemore had 5. We're going to have to talk about him in a little bit. Ellaby had 2. Watford had 2. Greg Brown had 2. Chris had 1. The starting lineup had Dennis Smith Jr. in it, so he's not a regular rotation player. We only played 4 regular rotation players tonight, and Nurkic had 2 turnovers, CJ had 2 turnovers, Norm and Rocco had 1 apiece, so that's better than what it's been. There was a couple really nice plays that I liked. One was bringing the ball up the court, hitting Nurkic quickly, and they were running some split action on the weak side, and CJ Ellaby back cut out of that. Got his defender out of position because of the impending screen, and CJ Ellaby back cut out of it, got a layup. Nurkic found him on the backdoor cut. So that's just an action that the Warriors actually run a lot. They normally have Draymond as the guy making that pass, and normally Draymond's just bringing up the ball to the top of the arc. But when you have a guy like Nurkic, he's a good passer, but not necessarily a guy that you want bringing the ball up like as much as a Draymond Green. So I like that because we had somebody else bring the ball up quickly and then quickly get it to Nurkic. So the defense wasn't necessarily set or didn't necessarily see the split action coming on the weak side. So just little things like that can manufacture easy buckets like that. I love to see, and I'm hoping to see more of it. That was just kind of an example of something I want to see more of. And overall, I thought offensively, we got some quality shots. We missed a lot of quality shots in this game. We're 10 for 40 from 3, 25%. The starting lineup wasn't terrible from 3. At least the rotation guys. You had Rocco 2 for 3, Norm 2 for 6, CJ 4 for 11, Nurkic was 0 for 2. But overall, it was another game in which I felt like we got quality 3-point looks and didn't knock down as many as we normally would on average. So hopefully those shots start to fall when things really matter. Offensively, there's just no reason to worry with a team as elite in terms of offensive talent as this one. Just got to get easier buckets, better shot quality, and you can live with the result. If Norman Powell is 2 for 10 on high-quality shots, you can live with that result. He's efficient enough where you get him good shots, and you trust that the averages will play out in your favor in the long term. Same with a guy like a CJ, same with a guy like a Dame. So overall, I'm not worried about the team offensively. I think they'll figure things out in terms of moving the ball, and it'll serve them better in the long run. They might struggle in the short term with it. It might be a case of short-term pain, long-term gain, but I'm tired of the team not being in the best position possible in the playoffs because they're chasing every regular season win, playing Dame a bunch of minutes, not trying to work on things that they know will come back to bite them in the playoffs. So it's a situation where, as I've said in pretty much every postgame show, patience. The offense is going to be fine.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that is pushing the ball up. We saw a made basket where the Blazers got the inbounds pass and pushed it up the court to Mclemore, and he got a layup out of it off a made basket. Haven't seen that in years, right? So stuff like that, you can catch defenses off guard, especially teams that are used to the last 9 years, Portland playing kind of slow and taking their time bringing up the court. So I felt like we got a bunch of good looks when we pushed the ball up once again in the first half and then kind of went away from it. I'm wondering if that was kind of by design. We want to work more on our half court offense in preseason versus, you don't really have to work on transition during preseason. So I'm encouraged knowing that we've at least showed that we have the ability to push the ball up in transition.
Yeah, so since we're on the offense and just talking about guys making shots and getting high quality shots, let's talk about Nurkic, because I feel like that is kind of the big talking point on Twitter today. As far as Nurkic goes, this is just my take on his finishing issues. I want your take after this. I want to see if it's the same. I felt like a lot of the shots that he missed, he was rushing them. And the reason he was rushing them was because he had 2 or 3 defenders around him. And instead of maybe making the right kick-out pass, he was trying to finish around the rim. He was trying to score. And it's just a situation where I don't know. I feel like we're not necessarily doing the best job in terms of getting him the ball with only 1 defender on him. It's a lot of like, he'll be rolling and we'll get him the ball and he'll have 2 or 3 defenders on him on the catch and just completely swallowing him. So I felt like he rushed some shots out of that he probably should have finished. So it's not an excuse whatsoever. It's just when you're rushing shots with 2 or 3 defenders around you, it's harder to finish. He missed a couple ones that he definitely should have had, and I felt like he rushed those as well. He's just a little bit too sped up. I wish we'd run a couple sets for him to maybe get him good position and then run some action with some of our off-ball guys to keep them honest, to keep them from doubling or triple teaming Nurkic when he's catching the ball. That was kind of my takeaway from tonight.
Yeah, we saw one play in particular where he sealed his guy under the hoop, got the ball, turned and laid it in, and it rimmed off. Those he's got to finish. I wish he would just dunk those, go up a little stronger on those ones. Probably get an and one if you try to dunk it, more than likely. He also had a post up where he was a little further away from the hoop. He was probably in that like 10-foot range, but he tried a little hook shot in the lane on a post move. Good shot, just back rim. But this is where Billups specifically said he was going to work with Nurk on his finishing and becoming more of a dominant scorer in that sense. And so I feel like it'll be addressed, and they'll work on it and do things to help him improve it. So hopefully that shows itself throughout the season as he improves that. You don't just go from being bad at finishing to good all of a sudden. You have to work on it, and you have to know the right ways to work on it. So I'm hoping that Billups knows how to do that. That's going to be a key for Nurk. But it's also it's a confidence thing too. If you have a bad game finishing, and your coach yells at you on the sideline and stuff like that, that doesn't necessarily help you get better, because then it's in your head next game, I need to finish this or whatever. So I feel like so far, Billups, one of his best qualities is that temperament where he teaches, but he does it like in a respectful way where he shows confidence in the person still. So if that if he can translate that into making him finish better and making him have more confidence, I feel like there is still a chance Nurk could become better in the post. It's still not looking great at this point.
What sucks when he went down with his broken leg is I feel like the month before that he had finally figured out how to finish at an efficient enough clip. Mm-hmm. And he was finishing well that month, and in that Brooklyn Nets game he had 32 points or something like that because he was finishing well. And then he goes down with that injury and has not gotten back to that point. I feel like Nurkic is a slow starter in terms of finishing the ball, in terms of just kind of playing well in general, I feel like. Sometimes that's because he's out of shape, but I always feel like it takes him some time to get into rhythm where he's reading situations correctly. We all know he can pass and he has passing vision, but and reading situations isn't just, being a passer from the top of the key. I'm talking about on the short roll, knowing how to attack and get to the rim and finish if he's catching the ball 10 to 15 feet out, knowing where that second defender is coming from and the pass to make out of that. And I always felt like it took him some time to be able to consistently read those situations. So I would expect it to take some time right now as well because he was not reading those situations super well today. So it's just a situation where he has to work on his finishing. He has to finish higher. I feel like he scoops too much.
That's always been a problem.
he needs to finish high a lot of times. Or a lot of times I feel like he'll just be rolling and just take 2 steps right towards the rim and try and finish. Sometimes he'll charge out of that. He committed a charge. Stephen Curry drew it today. And I wish he was better at kind of carving out space or slowing down and getting to a better layup. Because the play in which he charged on Steph Curry, like, the only other thing he'll ever try and do there is Euro step going to his left and be off balance, and he misses quite a bit of those. I wish he'd just catch the ball, pound dribble, jump stop to the middle of the key, and then nobody's stopping him if he gets there.
Yeah, if he takes his time, there's no way he can't just shoot right over the top of Curry. But an encouraging thing is he was in a situation in the middle of the key later on in the game, and he did sidestep Curry and drew a foul on him. He still kind of went up soft like you were saying, but at least he somewhat learned from it and didn't make the same mistake twice in a row.
Yeah. So it's just a work in progress. He rebounded well. I feel like he defended well outside of a couple ticky-tack fouls, and he had a couple nice passes in this game. Really, the only thing is that he just needs to finish better. So if he doesn't finish, if he's going to struggle finishing all year, it's not going to be that good of a season for him, and I'm going to be disappointed. He has to figure this out. He finished well in the first preseason game. He had a pretty efficient game there. And I think he was like 3 for 4 inside the arc there. So it's just a situation where, we just have to hope for the best. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and I mean, if you take away the 4 for 13, would you say he had a bad game if you just ignore his shooting?
If you ignore his shooting, he had a fine game.
Yeah,
he had a fine.
I thought he was pretty good defensively. I thought, like you said, he still makes plays happen. I mean, he's rebounding well so far in the preseason. I don't know. I think it's fine, and I think we can get away with him even if he's not like a tremendously good finisher. I still think he can do so much that it helps your team win, but that's still to be seen. I understand why some people are discouraged by it, but
I need to find. I'll do a teaser because I haven't released this player preview yet. I released Norm's today. His is up next. But I've been setting statistical goals for all these guys. And my statistical goal for Nurkic in terms of 2-point percentage this year, I want to see him shoot 54%, right? Which would be a career high from 2. I believe. And part of it is I'm hoping that this offense gets some higher quality 2-point looks, and then part of it is I hope that he improves his finishing. If he can shoot 54% from two, it's not like great for a center, but it's good enough. And then he provides his defense playmaking on top of that, and he missed both his threes today, but I think that he can be a 34-35% three-point shooter. So he provides everything else you would really want outside of maybe being a guy that you can switch on to guards. But even then, man, I mean, he looks like he's in great shape. That possession he got switched on to Steph and Steph scored, he actually stuck with Steph, took away the three, and stayed attached to his hip. And the only problem was Dennis Smith Jr. stepped up too high, and Nurkic stopped because he saw that. So he stayed attached to him, though. He slid his feet and stayed with him. So I'm fine with Nurkic switched out onto guys, especially with as good of a shape he's in. It's just kind of a risk for foul trouble. Overall, it's just the only issues are turnovers have been an issue with the entire team, and I feel like we can't just blame Nurkic if he struggles with turnovers when everything is just a little bit out of whack because they're trying to learn new stuff. And then part of it is the finishing, which he has to improve. And we'll just wait and see. I'm gonna give him a chance to get a rhythm. I'm gonna give him the time to get a rhythm. And 10 games in, if he's shooting 40% from two, I'm gonna be very frustrated.
One thing I think adjustment that the whole team can make, and maybe this comes directly from Billups, is Nurk has not been good in traffic catching the ball low. So maybe make an adjustment and just throw it up towards the rim. And we never really do that much, but get it into a shooting pocket or up a little higher where he can just catch and go straight up instead of having to catch the ball and then he's coming up from a low position to want to do those little flip shots, So maybe it's a case where, because, I mean, how, like, it didn't really happen this game because Looney's not really that type of player, but last game with Ayton, he gets, like, multiple, and McGee, they get multiple, like, just lobs for easy lay-ins or dunks, right? But when we pass it to our bigs, it just looks differently. So, like maybe it's just a simple adjustment of putting him more on the baseline to receive some of those passes where he's going up towards the rim and catches it going up instead of having to grab it low and then make a play starting from that low position.
Yeah, well, that's the problem I've seen is we'll be running a pick and roll with him, and the two guys on the weak side will just be standing still, and one of those guys will be able to just hedge hard onto the roll man, which is Nurkic with the starting lineup, and Nurkic is catching the ball with a guy kind of running at him from the weak side, poking at the ball, and then his guys rotating back to him and closing out fast and poking at the ball, and I feel like we throw quite a few passes that are low or maybe like way out in front of them. And that's not necessarily an easy position to be in. That's why I wish we would run more weak side action while running the pick and roll to maybe keep defenders occupied so they can't just hedge hard onto Nurkic. And the thing is, if we do that, we have to be able to hit one of those guys if they're open. We have to be able to skip it to a three-point shooter, recognize that situation, or maybe one of the two weak side guys is cutting baseline, and we can feed him that way. So it's a situation where we have to improve that aspect of it, and that's kind of where I see a few issues right now is Nurkic is catching the ball with a lot of guys smothering him, and he needs to be stronger with the ball and make better decisions out of it, so he needs to improve there. It's not an excuse. He needs to be better there, but I also think we could make it a little bit easier by trying to get him a little bit more space so that he doesn't feel rushed to make something happen.
Yep. And, yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's just... The other thing you can do is not have him go towards the basket. You could have him pop to like the free throw line and pass there and then make the defense either commit to him. And if they don't, then he could take a power dribble and maybe go up strong towards the hoop. But if you have that cutter like you were talking about, and the weak side isn't just standing there, if they help at all, that guy's wide open either for a three or on a cut for a lay-in or a dunk. So, I think as Billups starts to learn their tendencies, I think it'll be so much better. And then also keep in mind, so I was looking back on when Steve Kerr went to Golden State in 2014, just because I wanted to see the difference in training camp and preseason and stuff. So back then, training camp was almost a month long. Preseason was 8 games, so double the amount of games we have this season. So quite a bit less to work with right now, which is why it's going to bleed into the regular season more so than it would traditionally in previous years.
Yep. So I understand being frustrated with Nurkic. I'm not frustrated about anything preseason wise right now. If his finishing issues bleed into the regular season and 10 games from now he's having 4 for 13 games and not showing much improvement there, then I'm going to be frustrated with him. I'll be right there with you guys. It's just some people are already just let's trade for Naz Reid. I'm so done with Nurkic, and I feel like we should just pump the brakes a little bit on that. It just seems like every time the team loses, there's always one guy who had the worst game who fans will just be like, oh, I'm so done with them. Get rid of him. I don't want him on the team. He's trash. He's garbage. Yada, 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 right? And then the next game they'll come out and have a great game. And nobody's saying that. It's let's just be a little patient and see how he's finishing the first 10 games of the season. I'll criticize him each game that he struggles to finish, but I'm not going to be sitting here like he's trash, he's garbage, trade him, I don't want him on the team. Because I think that's just a little bit over-emotional. That's just my viewpoint on it, and I might be saying that at the deadline if he's shooting 40% from 2 and 25% from 3. I just don't expect that to happen. I don't expect him to remotely struggle that bad.
Well, and again, if he's shooting 40% from 2 or having not playing up to these people's expectations, he doesn't have much trade value. So I don't understand why we need to trade him or whatever. He's more valuable to us if he gets it together than he is in a trade, bringing back a piece that wouldn't be as good as him and that would lower our ceiling versus raise it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're right. If he's struggling, what team's going to trade a starting caliber center for him? Unless it's a team looking to rebuild and we attach multiple picks. But, right. I mean, they probably wouldn't really value Nurkic at all. So, as far as Nurkic goes, he needs to finish better. That's obvious. So, we'll see if he can improve on that. It's all good, JD. I get the frustrations, man. That's the thing is I understand fans being frustrated and emotional about things like that because I feel it a little bit myself. It's just definitely just need to pump the brakes a little bit collectively and relax because none of these games have mattered. We're literally 0-0 right now. I feel like it almost feels like we're 0-4 for real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're 0-0, Eric. Yep. 0 wins, 0 losses.
Shout out to Gray Hughes Investigates for the $10 donation. He says, let's trade the entire team for no-name suckers stats. LOL.
Appreciate it, Gray Hughes. I mean, that's the thing is we get Naz Reid in here. And I like Naz Reid. He's underrated. But if he starts to have a couple bad games and struggles to finish, he'll be getting the same criticism. You know what I mean? So it's been an issue with Nurkic throughout his career, so he needs to work on that. But constructive criticism is kind of where I'm at right now when it comes to preseason games.
The last 3 seasons, I mean, he gets hurt towards the end of the 3 seasons ago, only plays 8 games 2 seasons ago, and then played half the season last year. Mm-hmm. But all three of those seasons were in like right around 52.5% on his 2-point field goal. So I don't think he's that far off from getting to 54 with better ball movement. If he gets like one or two better shots a game, that's easily 54%. So I don't think it's that crazy to expect that from him.
Yeah, and that was kind of the logic behind the 54% goal for him. So, yeah, I mean, here's the thing is, Enes Kanter for his career is a 55.5% 2-point shooter. You know, I mean, everybody looks at him as like, oh, he's just so good offensively. Terrible defender, of course, but offensively, offensive rebounder and finisher, he's amazing. His career is 55.5%. Nurkic the past few years is right around 52. So I feel like when he misses some layups, it's a little bit more frustrating because of how he misses them. Not necessarily because he's missing them in general. It's like he'll miss them because he's scooping it or just rushing it and kind of almost chucking it off the backboard. Whereas maybe another center in there still misses the layup, but they try and finish strong and it rolls around the rim and falls off, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot less frustrating than seeing some big 7-foot guy try some scoop shot and hit backboard and then barely hit rim, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where some of the frustration comes from, is the way in which he misses, and he needs to try and finish stronger. So that's just part of the frustration, is a lot of times it feels like he's not, for whatever reason, trying to finish strong enough. And if he tries to finish strong, he's a better finisher. So I think that's where some of the frustration comes from, in terms of just the complaints around his finishing.
Yep.
So anyway, shout out Mills Woj, $5 dono. He says, and on Wednesday, people forget we don't have the Jazz or the Nuggets or the Lakers. We have the Kings. Appreciate it, Mills Woj, for the $5 dono. Can you imagine if we lose to the Kings, what this fan base will be acting like?
Yeah.
If we're 0-1, Eric?
I think we'll play well. I'm confident in that.
Yeah. And then
but I'm glad we're not playing like a really good team. Like, I mean, 2 years ago we played the Nuggets, and Whiteside and Collins looked really good, but we still lost because Jokic kind of abused Whiteside in the fourth quarter on threes, and we lost that game. And then last year we got blown out by the Jazz. So yeah, it's nice to have what should be at least a competitive game off the bat.
Yep. And then shout out CH Sports for a $2 dono. He says, defensive rotations look great first half. Yeah, even during the second quarter, it wasn't a situation where our defensive rotations looked bad. It was Steph being Steph and going insane. And I felt like we contested a lot of his shots. And it's just Steph is an amazing player and a top 5 player in the league. Sometimes there's nothing you can do with a guy like that. That's the thing, is we had a vintage Steph Curry flurry and had only given up 55 points in the first half. Normally, when we give up a vintage Steph Curry flurry, they have 70 points in a half. You know what I'm saying? Because pretty much every game last year, we're giving up 30 in the first quarter. And it's like if Steph Curry goes on a flurry in the second quarter, they're scoring 35-40. Right? So, I don't know, 55 and a half, that's on pace for 110. Here's the thing, it was a fast-paced game, so even at half, in terms of percentages, it wasn't like the Warriors were shooting particularly well. It was a fast-paced game, so that's why offensive rating is better, because it takes, it's per 100 possessions. So if it's a fast-paced game, a slow-paced game, it can kind of equal that out and take out that discrepancy. So overall, the first half was good. Steph Curry went vintage Steph Curry's tonight, and thank goodness I hate it when it happens in a regular season, but in a preseason game when it doesn't matter, it's just kind of like, wow, man, you know what I mean? You actually can appreciate it instead of just being frustrated about it. So the first quarter, though, was, the defense looked better than probably any quarter last season. Maybe I'm just being a prisoner of the moment. But the first quarter defense, I felt like, I can't remember a quarter last year where our defense looked better than that. So that's the thing, is that's the encouragement. Those are the flashes that give me optimism for this season. Because if you can put together a full game consistently based on that first quarter of defense, if that can be 4 quarters, then you're having a good defensive game. And if you can do that consistently, then they're an above average defense. And if they're an above average defense, they're an elite team with the offensive talent they have. So that's the thing. It's just building blocks. You got to take it from, okay, we did it in the first quarter and had some solid defense in the second quarter and, had some breakdowns too. I'm not acting like there wasn't any breakdowns in the second quarter. But, Steph Curry being Steph Curry, you want to take that from one, maybe 1.5 quarters to a whole half, to a full game, to multiple games in a row. By the end of the season, it should be a every game thing. So that's the thing. It's just building from the good that we've seen here. That's why I'm not panicking. That's why I'm not frustrated, because you can see it. You can see the start of it. It's just they have to be more consistent with it, and they have to build upon it.
Yeah, this would be a good segue into my game if you want to play.
Yeah, Eric said Eric says he has a game for me. He said that before the stream. I don't know what it is, so let's see what he has for me or for us. I don't know.
All right. If Franklin's World is still in here, he asked a question earlier, asking, must they change personnel to become a good defensive team? And I want to play a game that shows you why I don't think it needs to change, and why size is not our issue on defense. Okay. So I want you to tell me whether this particular open shot we gave up was because of having poor defenders or something else, or like what is the reason for that, right? Mm-hmm. And is it fixable, or is that something that you're screwed because you have tiny defenders and you can't do anything about, right?
Yeah. And I'm assuming this is based on So Eric said he charted each open shot or quality shot the Warriors got and why they got it, right?
Yeah. So I gave up in the fourth quarter because it just turned into rat ball. I ran out of paper. But anyways, for the whole first half and then all of the third quarter, I did this. So anytime they got a good, clean look, I rewinded it back, found out like what happened on the play and why it happened or whatever. So we actually started off the game really well. First few possessions, we didn't give up any open shots, which I think was really encouraging. The first time we gave up an open shot was the Draymond Green dunk, which Steph drives and lays it, dumps it off to him. That's tough. I mean, yeah, the defender probably overhelped, but at the same time, like, are you really gonna blame him for overhelping on Curry? That's the tough one. So I can see that either way, but that wasn't really. It wasn't like an open shot because of an offensive system or whatever. That was just Curry making a play, in my opinion.
Yeah, and every team in the NBA during the course of a game is going to get looks like that. You just want to try and reduce the number of those looks. Right. So the fact that comes after 3 minutes in which we don't give up an open look to them is fine.
And then, so the next open shot we gave up was Norm drives to the basket, thought he got fouled, argued with the refs, doesn't get back, and then I forgot who it was, but someone had to take his guy, and then he runs back and doesn't take the guy whose guy was guarding him. Mm-hmm. And then that guy I forgot if it was Looney or Green, but whoever it was just went right to the basket, and they found him. There was no one within like 10 feet of him for a wide open dunk, right? Yeah. So that's just with not getting back on defense, blown coverage, right? Mm-hmm. So the next open shot we gave up was Curry's on the sideline with Dennis Smith Jr. on him. Dennis Smith Jr. turns his head. Curry goes backdoor, gets a lay-in. So
that happened a couple times this game.
Yeah, that'll be a theme with Dennis Smith Jr. in this game. But once again, that's not like a scheme issue. That's just someone falling asleep on the backside and an easily correctable thing. Now with Curry, it's a little tougher because you're overplaying him coming off the screen up top or off a dribble handoff for a three. So you have to kind of overplay him a little bit. But as long as you stay engaged with him and don't turn your head and lose him, I feel like those times they cut back door where the guy just gets lost in his feet, he just stands there and the guy cuts. Mm-hmm. Those are avoidable if you're playing defense the right way off ball. So I think those are all correctable. The next play, there was Norm was on the far side, the weak side. His guy cuts baseline to the opposite side, and he initially stopped because he thought Ellaby was going to switch guys with him, and then realized he didn't switch, and it led to a wide open 3-pointer to Lee. So once again, is that like a size issue or a scheme issue or?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm going to be saying no to every question. This game for
Yeah.
me is me saying no.
Yep. So communication issue, easily cleaned up. If you like one player was expecting to switch, one player wasn't, and then it gives up an open 3. Another one, Dennis Smith Jr. gets back screened. Poole cuts to the basket off the screen. It leads to an easy 5-foot shot. No communication. Just gets screened and no one helped him, or just got another blown coverage off a back screen. Rocco just is guarding Iguodala, sags off, and Iggy pulls up, hits a 3. That might be one of those things where in the scouting report you give him that shot based on his.
He contested that shot pretty well though, and it's a guy that Iguodala is not a good 3-point shooter. So
yeah, it's like that's probably part of the scouting report, and you probably live with that if Iguodala hits a 3. But normally, if your guy has the ball though, and he's a wing player, you probably don't want to sag off as much as Rocco did on that one.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
overall, I mean, once again, it's not. I mean, Iguodala hit a 3 with Rocco guarding him. Is that really because our defense can never get better with that lineup? So the next play, so Curry dribbles the ball up the court, and everyone forgets who they have for some reason, and Chris has to guard Curry without a screen. There was no action run by the Warriors. Chris just ended up having to guard Curry, bringing it up, right?
Yeah, that's just a mismatch, lack of a communication issue.
And then Curry actually missed the shot. I thought Chris did a good job staying in front of him. But then no one boxes out Looney, who is Chris's man, and he gets the rebound and kicks it out to Wiggins, who's wide open in a chaotic thing. And you can say, oh, that's an offensive rebounding issue because we don't have the size. But at that time, I think we had a pretty big lineup in there, and also it wasn't. I mean, if you just get matched up correctly, Chris is there to get the rebound if he boxes out Looney. So that play was doomed from the beginning, in my opinion, just because we didn't get back to the right people. This is a play you brought up in chat during the game. There was a time where I forgot who it was. I didn't write it down, but Rocco's man just cuts right to the basket for an easy 2, and I went back and looked, and he just randomly tried to run to do a double team for some reason. It wasn't even Curry, and got caught in no man's land, and his guy just cut to the basket, and they found him. And these kind of things against the Warriors, you have to stay disciplined. Like we talked about earlier, good passing teams like this will exploit every little misstep you have on defense. So part of that consistency is being focused the whole time you're in the game.
Yeah.
And then once again, Curry cuts Dennis Smith Jr. sleeping, goes backdoor on him, leads to Dennis Smith Jr.'s 3rd foul. And then last play of the half, Lee catches a Curry air ball. Rocco was just watching the ball, didn't box out, gets a layup. You can say missed air ball, hard to box out an air ball, but still he was not paying attention, and his guy slipped behind him and got it. So
yeah, so the theme of all this is just it's not due to size.
Yes.
It's not due to, it's a lot of perimeter breakdowns that are either leading to threes or leading to buckets inside, overplaying somebody on the perimeter, they back cut, being out of position, guy getting a 3, transition, ended up in mismatches because you didn't get back correctly and they score. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is the whole size thing, the whole undersized, we can't be a good defense because of our size thing is a bit It's a bit overblown.
Mm-hmm. So that was the first half. I don't know if you want to continue or not.
Yeah, I don't like going to the second half.
But the second half is basically the same thing.
Yeah.
CJ got caught off a couple off-ball screens and didn't recover well. Curry, one time, you can't compound that with then running into Curry and fouling him for a 4-point play. Mm-hmm. And then the other time, he just didn't get through it all and then gives up an open three. But for the most part, so did Curry finish with 41? Mm-hmm. So I only have 8 of his points as him coming up the ball as the primary initiator of the offense. All of his other points were either off of free throws or times where he started the possession off ball. So you look at the box score and say, oh, our initial defense sucks, like Reese brought up earlier. But really in the game, it wasn't necessarily the Warriors. And that's what makes that kind of offense so deadly, and why we want to play that way is because you're not reliant on him to bring the ball up and make everything happen on offense if you're the Warriors. And I feel like Dame could do that same thing if we ran him off ball like they do with him.
It's harder to stay attached off ball to a guy like that because, one, most times you're going to not be attached because you're going to be in help side positioning. And honestly, against a guy like that, maybe you just aren't in help side positioning just because you cannot leave him. But it's hard for defenders to not do what they always do, which is play, help side defense, be in help side positioning when a guy's off the ball, and then you're having to fight through off ball screens where, like, that's the thing is if Steph is handling the ball, most of the time he's not at a dead sprint when he's going off an on-ball screen. Whereas if he's off the ball, most of the time once he's getting past the screen, he's already at a dead sprint. So it's hard to get through. And most of the time there's multiple screens there, and he always has the option to back cut it. So that's the thing is it's really hard to stay attached and contain him when he's moving off the ball like that. So it also leads to a lot of times where you're having a second defender try and help out, and that's opening up another guy. And that's what the Warriors do really well is they get Steph going off the ball, and then if you overcommit a second guy to him, they cut well out of that, and they'll get other guys lay-ins. So that's something that I hope that we can do this year with Dame, because Dame draws a similar amount of attention, and Nurkic can be that top of the key passer. That's why you gotta use Dame off the ball. Is even if I don't know, it's not just to get Dame higher quality shots, which I think it will get Dame higher quality shots because for all the it'll get him higher quality shots for all the reasons I explained why it's hard to contain a guy like Steph when he's off the ball. But it can also help open up other high quality looks for other players. So that's just kind of my hope with this offense at this point. It's not there yet, but that's the thing is Dame only played in 2 preseason games, and this is all completely new offense that these guys are not used to running compared to the Stottsvens they ran last year. So that's why the offense is, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it at all. I think they're trying to do the right stuff. It's going to be a bit of a work in progress. It just comes down to defense. Here's the thing, man. We were 29th last year, and we were tied for the 5th seed. So maybe the offense is a little worse because we're trying to make it better for the postseason, so we sacrificed earlier in the season. But, I mean, there's so much room for improvement defensively that's why I'm not worried about this team. Everybody's so worried about this, and I don't see how this isn't going to be at least the same as last year.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, like, I don't see how we are worse defensively last year. I don't see how we're not better defensively. We have a better defensive roster, and we're actually competently coached on that end. So, and offensively, Dame will take care of things. CJ will take care of things. Norm will take care of things. And, it's just, that's why I'm not panicking is I don't know. It's not a situation where I see a ton of downside where we're, like, not making the playoffs or anything.
And just for clarification, when we say Dame off ball, we're not talking about him becoming all of a sudden the shooting guard and never bringing the ball up. No, it's still a majority of the time he can bring the ball up. But if you just have, 5 to 10% of the plays, or if they are in a situation where they're doubling Dame at half court, or which we've seen plenty of times throughout the last few seasons, if they're doubling him off every pick and roll, that's when you go to your secondary offense and maybe try some things off ball. And for those that say that Curry's just a different player, Dame can never be like that, maybe there's some truth to that. But if you look back at the percentages of on-ball pick and rolls run, isolations run by Curry in 2013, before Steve Kerr was the coach under Mark Jackson, and then look at the difference. You could have made that same case for Curry back then. Like, he has to have the ball in his hand. He can't play off ball. And all Kerr did was change him into an MVP caliber player and one of the best players of all time. So, I'm not saying that Dame is exactly like that, but if you get just a portion of that out of Dame, we're much better off for it.
Yep. Shout out Polly Ross, $5 donor. He says, regular random stat for the start of the season. Damian Lillard has outscored LeBron James since he came into the league. So since Dame came into the league to now, Dame has 16,815 points. LeBron has 16,322. So that's pretty cool. LeBron is probably going to end up being the number one point scorer of all time, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has the record right now, right?
Didn't Karl Malone passing? Maybe. I don't know.
No, Karl Malone doesn't have it. Let me check most points all time. Let me check my trivia knowledge. All time NBA. Yeah, it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He has 38,387. Karl Malone is second with 36,928. LeBron James is third with 35,367. So that's pretty cool that since Dame has come into the league, he has more points than LeBron. That's since 2012, so that's pretty impressive. Appreciate that, Polly Ross. Appreciate the dono and the stats.
Unfortunately for Dame, going to a small college and not getting noticed and not, staying, I mean, it's good for us because who knows what would have happened if he was better or highly recruited coming out of high school, but I think he just started a year or two late to get too high on that list, but
Yeah. So let's talk about players. We'll talk a little bit more about team stuff in the next couple episodes of Blazers Uprise Live. Monday will be our final 9:30 p.m. Pacific time start time for Blazers Uprise Live, and then next Wednesday on opening night we're going to have Blazers Uprise Live at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. We're doing next week's show on Wednesday to preview the Kings game and do a full slate of picks against the spread. We're doing that Wednesday instead of Thursday. So we will talk more about stuff that we need to do as we prepare for the regular season. But let's just talk about a couple other individual players. Eric, I want to get Ben Mclemore out of the way. I know he's not going to play.
Yeah.
Or hopefully he's not going to play.
Yeah.
Everything I said about him on the last stream is probably what I'm going to say about him on this stream. He looks horrible defensively. He looks like he's our worst defender. He looks worse than CJ, worse than Dame, like noticeably worse. And that's discouraging because I thought he was supposed to be an average defender. I mean, there's a couple possessions today where he just seemed absolutely lost off the ball. He seems like he's moving in quicksand. Jordan Poole had an in and out on him that wasn't even that shifty and just absolutely moved him out of the way. Jordan Poole drives for an and one, and that's when Jordan Poole was like flexing, talking on the ground and all that. He's not getting through screens well. He looks horrible defensively, and offensively he's not good. He's not good enough. If he's a 3-point shooter offensively, that's all he is. That's all he is. And I know he shot 40% 2 of the last 3 seasons, but last season it was down to what, 34%?
Yeah, he didn't play much. He was hurt, so
yeah,
kind of small sample size, but
like his 3-point shot doesn't seem too dialed in right now.
Yeah, it looks flat.
Yeah, if he's a 35% 3-point shooter, he does not help the team in any area of the game.
I agree.
In any area of the game. Believe it or not, if he's a 34 or 35% 3-point shooter, I would probably rather play CJ Ellaby over him. because at least CJ Ellaby can be competitive defensively, and his shot's looking a little bit better. So I just I'm that's the guy I'm most disappointed in, because that's the thing is, like, I haven't watched him and focused on him enough to really know what he is. And since I've started watching and focusing on him this preseason, he looks like, I don't know how he could look worse defensively. So that's just, I don't know. I'm very discouraged with him. That's the only guy on this roster where I'm just like, oh my goodness, I can't.
The good thing is, I have the utmost confidence that if you look that bad defensively, and especially if you're not doing Dame or CJ level things on offense, you're not going to play on this team. I don't think Billups is going to play him or even give him a chance to earn rotation minutes if he comes in any game and does that kind of stuff. We're speaking about Ben Mclemore right now.
Yeah. So, like, I think Dennis Smith Jr. has surpassed him in terms of in Chauncey's eyes, because at least Dennis Smith Jr. can play some defense. I don't think he's the offensive player he showed the first 2 games and the last 2 preseason games. I think you've kind of seen the offensive player that he's been kind of before coming to Portland. So hopefully we can see more of what he showed at the start of the preseason compared to the last 2 preseason games. But at least Dennis Smith Jr. can defend. Like, if you're going to see the floor, you have to be able to do something well, right? Even guys that aren't in the rotation, you have to do something, okay? Otherwise, what's even the point? Like, it doesn't make much sense, So that's the thing. Like, Greg Brown III looked really good defensively tonight.
Mm-hmm.
If you throw him out there, I think he can actually be a decent defender, because he looked good defensively. Offensively, he bricked a jumper. At least he had a 3 today. But he's a lob target, guy who can run transition. He threw a lob to Marquise Chris that Marquise Chris should have dunked in transition. So it's like, Greg Brown's really raw offensively, but at least just as a lob target, rim runner, he can provide some value. And then defensively, I think he can provide some value. So even the second round rookie, at this point, I have more trust in him being able to do something productive on the court. The only thing I feel like Ben Mclemore can do that's productive is knock down threes, and I don't trust his 3-point shot. Like, that's the thing, is Tony Snell isn't a flashy signing, but from all accounts, solid defensively and just a super consistent 40% 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. He's maybe, Ben Mclemore is maybe the 14th guy in the rotation for me going into the regular season.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we talked about it with Dennis Smith Jr. I think that was 2 streams ago, but if you have Dame, CJ, Norm, Ant, and then Dennis Smith Jr., that's 5 guards. So hopefully, even if one of those guys misses a game or whatever, I don't think we'll ever need Ben Mclemore. But this is the cool thing about this team, in my opinion. You mentioned Greg Brown and Tony Snell. And Mclemore kind of fits into this group too, is we have guys, if we need a stop, you can put in our defensive lineup. We don't have to play like Dame and CJ and do all that stuff. Like, have a lineup with like Greg Brown and Larry Nance and Dennis Smith Jr. and Tony Snell and Norm or someone else, or Rocco. Throw one of those guys in there. So that's a lot of players we have that can be in situational defensive lineups and maybe get a stop or 2 that we wouldn't have gotten in the past. And then also, like Mclemore situationally would just be like if we need a 3-point shot or something, some sort of designed action to where he's in the corner or something to provide spacing. That's about all he can provide at this point, unless he suddenly turns something around under Chauncey, which I don't think is going to happen. But
it's just like he's going to be giving up more on the defensive end.
Yeah,
like he's a guy that I think is going to end up hurting us when he's in the game. Because I don't know, like, hopefully he can improve his defense. He just looks slow and like lost. It's not a situation where, oh, he just needs to give more intensity and it's the preseason, so it's just how the preseason is. maybe he can be a little bit more locked in. He's a vet, but it's just, I don't know. Like, the issues I'm seeing from him, I don't think it's something that's just going to
Right.
change. That's the thing is, you talked about him being injured. What was the injury again?
I forget what it was last year.
I mean, he's a 9-year vet, had some injury issues. He
I mean,
might
it was
be
just one
slowing
season.
down, man. He might just be slowing down. I don't know. I am not confident in him as we go into the season. I said, like, going into this, like, oh, we don't have a guy in the team that's like a Anthony Tolliver or a Mario Hazonia. I don't think he's that bad, but I feel like he might be the guy where I'm just like, ugh, he's in the game.
And hopefully this year we're not talking about him actually being in games unless it's garbage time.
Yeah, yeah. So fingers crossed on that. What other players do you want to talk about? We've talked about Nurkic. We've talked about I don't know, a little bit about Ellaby, a little bit about Greg Brown, a little bit about uh, Ben Mclemore. Why was I blanking on his name? We just talked about him for 10 minutes. What other
People,
players do you want to talk about?
people want us to talk about Watford, but he didn't really play much. But I think he's looked fine the minutes he's played on both ends. But
I
yeah,
mean, I
I
don't know.
don't.
It's
He's
hard
not
to
gonna.
talk
He's not
about.
really gonna play. But yeah, I don't understand why he hasn't gotten a little more run just to see what you have there. But yeah, it's got to
And it's
trust.
hard to judge him in a game where it's just like a complete mess when he's in. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So he ended up playing 9 minutes tonight, shot one shot. I don't really know what to say about him. Had a couple steals. Like he looks. That's the thing is he's skilled, and it doesn't seem like the speed of the game is bothering him. A lot of the rookies, it seems like the speed of the game is bothering him. Greg Brown, I feel like the speed of the game is like the game is really sped up for him right now. Trent Watford, I don't get those same vibes. He uh, plays under control, kind of plays at his own pace, but like is a little bit. I don't know. Like we saw it last game, he had that quick behind the back. He'll like drive slow, defender will cut him out, and he'll just snatch it quick behind the back and be able to kind of get to the rim, and then he'll pass out if he needs to. He's just a guy that. He needs to be able to defend and hit threes. And if he can do both those things, he will be a solid NBA role player, in my opinion. Because he can handle the ball a bit, he can pass a bit, and he can kind of get to the rim a little bit. And he's a little bit creative in terms of his handles. So it just comes down to being able to knock down threes and play defense. We haven't seen him shoot a three. But defensively, he was better than I expected. It's just hard to judge when he's playing up against scrubs
That
in
was pretty
garbage
much
time for
garbage
the most
time.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really all I have to say on him.
Yep, that's about all you can say at this point until we see him in a little more meaningful action, which I
Yeah,
don't expect to happen this season.
Let me just disagree with Aeromancer saying he's going to be the next PJ Tucker if he can develop an outside shot. So, the knock on Trendon Watford is he's a bad defender. And in Summer League, he was a pretty bad defender. He looks a little bit better, but the problem is he's like slow laterally at the 4 spot, which is exactly what he is. He's a 4. He's not really a 5. He's not really a 3. He's pretty much just a 4. He's pretty slow laterally at the power forward position. So it might be a situation where he might have to slim up a little bit to try and get a little bit quicker, but that's kind of the knock on him. He's not PJ Tucker. He's not even close to PJ Tucker defensively. That was actually the reason that he didn't get drafted. Because if he was a good defender, he would have been drafted 100%. So, yeah.
Yep.
Billups media availability dropped and anti-Olshey Twitter is having a frenzy. Why's that? Sarcasm. Do you want to talk about, okay, we can talk about players for like 15 minutes, or we can watch the Chauncey Billups interview.
Let's talk about the interview. I don't think there's really much else
Yeah.
to say about the players.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
But yeah. So the news should drop any minute now about who we are deciding to keep. And Adam Smits, you keep talking about people like we're going to sign 15. According to everything I've heard, including from Jason Quick, we're only going to carry 14 on the roster. If we carry 15, I expect that to be Chris as the second guy. But I don't think that there's any way to not justify having Dennis Smith Jr. on the roster as the 14th guy right now. So I'd be surprised if it's anyone but him.
Yep. All right. Chauncey Billups. Let's see why Anti-Shay's up in arms or whatever. Yeah, let me pull everything up here. What am I looking for? Yes, that. Cool.
And in terms of Giles and Hartenstein and all that kind of stuff, we would have. I mean, they signed non-guaranteed deals just like Chris and Patterson did. So if we were interested in those guys, I think we would have done that with them instead of one of those two guys. So I'd be surprised if we picked someone up that was a cast off from another team. I mean, it's possible.
I know Reese is begging for Hartenstein right now.
I mean, I wouldn't mind Hartenstein. I think he'd be a good third center,
Neither
but I find it hard to believe we'd pick him up over Chris when we could have just signed him to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Alrighty, so we're talking Chauncey Billups. 7-minute 42 post-game press conference.
I would say, we had some good moments, and we had some moments that it was like, dang, we're a lot further away than I thought, So it's been a little bit up and down. I'm not really too surprised with it. Anytime there's change, there's a period in there where, it's going to take some adjusting to, right? And so, it was a little bit up and down. I thought tonight, for the most part, about the first 20 minutes of the game, we played pretty well. And then that turnover bug jumped on us in the last 4 minutes of the second quarter. And they turned those in, and Steph got hot. They turned those into some really big, loud buckets, and that's just kind of how they play. And in the third quarter, they're historically an incredible third quarter team, and they did just that today, scoring 43 points in that third quarter. And then there was no way we could get back into it at that point. I wasn't going to play the starters, in unmeaningful minutes. Well, I think, the one thing that you just hope to have is health, man. We've already been a little unfortunate, with guys being out, really, really important guys to what we're going to try to do being out, and when you're practicing and you're having, you're introducing things and you're changing things, and you got 3 or 4 or 5 guys that are in your rotation that can't do it, makes it tough, makes it really tough. So that's, your biggest concern is health. And then secondly, just us trying to get some continuity out there. Those they kind of coincide with each other, as far as like us, our offense and defense, and things like that, those things will come. I'm not really concerned with that. We have some really good players that, you can make up for some of those things at times as you're trying to get there. So I'm really not that concerned with that. I'm more concerned with the things you can't control.
Oh, hey.
What you got?
Well, who's been on here saying that we have the type of guys who can take over and make up for that difference when we're struggling to learn the new stuff? Yeah. We still have Dame and CJ. They can still take over games and win us games, and we'll still be the same situation we are. And worst case scenario, even if our defense is absolute trash at the beginning of the season, it was trash all last year too. So we still won enough games, like you said earlier. Yeah. So I like to hear him say that he's confident in his guys. That once again, I'm pretty sure he watches us, right?
Yeah, obviously. So
I'm just kidding about that.
Or maybe we just feed him stuff to say in his post game news conference. Oh man, dude, it's been surreal this preseason. How like a lot of stuff's been said is along with what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
And Dame said that the other day too. You tweeted this out on Dame's press conference, like fast forward to whatever minute that was.
Yep.
And it was exactly what we were talking about. I think you mentioned those exact words basically is if this was a real game in that first quarter when we're scoring 11 points, Dame would have took it upon himself to get some buckets and we would have been fine. So
yeah, but instead we wanted to work on stuff and he probably decided not to take over the game so we could just continue to work on what we need to work on. And he almost said that verbatim.
Yep.
So yeah. It's that's the thing. It's like I don't even have anything to say to like anything he's saying because he's saying what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Last year it was completely different.
Yeah.
It was the exact opposite. So, alrighty. Let's see what else we got.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so, at least. Hope so.
Is there anything?
Can't hear the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight than you did in that first game?
Yeah, I thought we did a good job. Like I said in the first half, I thought we did a good job of getting back. They didn't hurt us too bad in their transition game. We really got hurt there. We got hurt when we turned the basketball over a ton. They turned those into really quick baskets. I didn't think that their pace hurt us early in the game, but I thought it really hurt us in the third quarter. Their pace. And so, I thought we made some gains, in today's game where I stepped in front of y'all after the last game and I was really disappointed, with our effort, with our execution. I don't feel that way today. I thought our guys played hard. Thought they tried to play the right way. And the one thing that, all preseason, I mean, we just haven't been able. I mean, we can't make a three. We just can't. We can't make shots. And granted, I mean, a day like today where you go 10 for 40, but you got two of your best shooters not playing. Dame and you would hope that some of those threes will be them. So that that's not ideal.
Wow, we just missed shots. I'm just kidding. It's weird to hear that and have it actually be reasonable. I don't know, man. Oh, that's so funny. Okay.
Is that it?
No, that's just, I don't know. I just thought that part was funny because that's the thing is he's not going to use that as an excuse. It's a situation like tonight. You're missing two of your best shooters. You get some quality looks. Sometimes it is a case where you get quality looks and you just miss shots. The problem we had all year last year was it was an excuse for literally everything. Oh, they just made shots. We just missed shots. It was an excuse for every single thing. That's why it was so frustrating last year. So it's just funny to like hear it. We've heard it once this preseason, after the end of the preseason. That's been the case pretty much all preseason is we've struggled to shoot the ball on pretty quality looks in my opinion. But he hasn't used it as an excuse for everything else, right? We come out with bad defensive energy last game. He calls it out. He doesn't say, oh, well, they're just making shots and we just missed shots. So, that's just the NBA, No, he's not using it as an excuse, so I like that.
Yep. And, I mean, right off the bat, Norm gets two fairly good looks. I think they were both corner threes, which he's one of the best in the league at, misses both of them. He kind of settled down later in the game, but that guy's not going to miss those all the time. I agree. I felt like getting open shots is an encouraging sign. There's no way we're going to shoot I think, what did we say we shot last game? 15%? And what did you say?
Yeah.
Like 25% this game?
25% this
So,
game.
yeah, there's no way we're going to shoot like that this season. We're too good of a shooting team to have that happen long term. And, yeah, so that's why, you know, you hate to see these like blowouts and stuff, but if we just make a few of those, we're right there in the game, and it doesn't resort to like garbage time either.
Yeah, Trevin sums this up really well. Basically, last year it was we just missed our heavily contested shots, and they just made their wide open ones. That was basically the excuse last year, because we gave up a ton of wide open shots and shot a ton of contested shots, and Chauncey is actively trying to fix that. So, yeah, let's move on.
Well, real quick,
unless you got something else.
Yeah, honestly, with a new coach, it's in your mind a little bit at the beginning. You want to make a good impression. Oh, he got me an open three. I want to hit this jumper. Like it can kind of mess with you a little bit. I don't think Dame will have that problem, but just about everyone else could have that problem at some point early on, where it's like, oh, I'm finally getting a chance. I better make every shot, because they're used to a guy like Nas, where if he takes a three and misses, he's coming right out of the game and stuff like that. So there might be a bit of an adjustment mentally as well. Just calm down. It's okay if you miss a shot. We're happy we're getting good shots, and then I think all these guys will be fine moving forward. But it does kind of mess with your head a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's the case for CJ, Norm, or Nurkic or Rocco,
like the main guys are probably fine. But.
Yeah, I think Chauncey probably talked to Rocco, like, you need to stop shooting so many early contested threes, because he shot a couple last game. And
he shot some like 30-footers tonight.
Yeah, but it was like with 4 on the shot clock.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the thing, is like in that situation, you gotta get something, so shoot them. Like a contested 28-footer with 4 on the shot clock from Rocco is fine. Yeah. Absolutely fine. With 17 on the shot clock, it's a horrible shot.
Right.
So that's the thing, is the shot clock matters in a situation like that. And I felt like there was a couple times where he almost shot a contested 3 early in the clock, and he decided not to. So that was good to see.
Yep.
All right, let's move along.
Hey, Coach, will you have to dial back on some of the schemes you're doing on offense or defense at the start of the regular season if the learning curve hasn't been good enough yet to play the way you want to play, so that you avoid losing games like this in the regular season?
Yeah, I don't know if, you dial back. I think what it is, Aaron, is you can't continue to add things, until we can start getting some continuity with what we have. I do think that most of the things that we've tried to do offensively in a half-court situation, if you will, the guys know the stuff, first option most of the times, but once you start getting continuity, you start to understand the second and third options when they take this away or that away. We're nowhere near that yet, but more importantly, it's not even like the half court stuff. It's us getting up and down, playing in some of our quick hitting sets that I think that we have to be a lot better at.
That's actually a solid question.
Oh,
good answer too.
Mm-hmm. And then you can't hear the
I thought it was spotty. All of them, all 3 of them, to be honest with you, Jason. There were some times where I thought we did a really good job of kicking it ahead, advancing the ball, playing with really good pace. And there was some times where we, maybe we're tired and we caved in, and didn't do it. Defensively, I thought we had some times where we had some really amazing possessions. We did a good job of stopping their first action, and then had 2 or 3 multiple efforts and did a good job there. And sometimes they score those buckets, sometimes they don't. But if it's a great defensive possession, you take those small victories, right? So I thought we had a lot of those moments, and then we had a lot of moments where our defense just kind of crumbled. So yeah, it was kind of spotty the entire way.
I
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? This is my first 4 games ever coaching anything. So I thought it was cool, man. I mean, the more I do it, obviously, the more comfortable you get in those situations out there. I felt like, for instance, I felt a lot better today than I did the last game. You know, just with the kind of the flow of it, the play calling, the timeouts, winning. You know, it's starting to get better. It's starting to get a little slower for me.
All right, that's the interview. See, I like that, man, because he's honest, you know? He's not scared to say, yeah, you know, I'm getting more comfortable as the game goes on as a first-time head coach. You know, he's not going to sit here and fake it, and that's the thing. If you say, oh, no, I'm totally comfortable, you could probably see right through that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like some fans might be turned off by an answer like that last answer to the question. But, I mean, that's going to be the case for any first-time head coach. It's not going to be a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be a problem. Every coach starts somewhere. There's been a lot of really good first-year head coaches. And I guarantee you all of them, before their first regular season game, weren't completely used to or comfortable being a head coach. So that's the thing, is Chauncey is just an honest guy and admitting that. So I think that's cool, because you never really have to guess with him, it seems like. He'll be pretty straightforward and pretty honest and to the point. And I like that. And that's a really good change of pace.
So what do you think is causing the Twitter uproar?
What
that,
is
that he said that we need to make, or we just didn't make shots? Or
I don't know what.
Never know.
Yeah, what is causing the Twitter uproar?
Who
was that? I Am Sarcasm in chat said it was causing an uproar, so I'm curious why there was an uproar. Yeah. I wonder if he's still in here, because I'm curious, because I'm not going to go searching for it. Shout out JM1231 with a $5 dono. He says, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. I guess we need to bring back Stotts. LOL. And then he says, seriously, I think you can see a lot of little things changing. Appreciate it, JM, with the $5 dono. Yeah, you know, it's that's the thing. It's not going to be built in a day. It's not going to be built in 4 meaningless games. They got to build this brick by brick. And that's the thing, is you might lose a couple games early in the regular season that you might have otherwise won. But if you can make up those games later in the regular season, and if you can be better prepared for playoffs, it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing, you know. So that's the thing, is I'd rather be a 6 seed and have more of a chance of beating a contender in a playoff series than being a 1 seed and having less of a chance of being a contender in a playoff series. So that's the thing, is like everybody's focused on, oh, we gotta win games, we gotta get a good seed. Some people think we might miss the playoffs, so obviously you gotta make the playoffs. And with the play-in, it does make things a little bit more iffy, but it's just a situation where, like, what's the point if you're not giving yourself a good chance to win in the playoffs? What's the point? I don't understand that. So that's the thing, is like, I agree with Chauncey saying that they might have to hold off on putting new things in until they get comfortable enough with what they've already put in, but it's not a situation where they should be taking anything out and reverting back to a style of play which did not give them a good chance to win in the playoffs, which we've seen year after year. So that's just kind of my viewpoint on it, is have patience. It might be a little bit rough early. We might lose a couple games. Shoot, we might lose opening night to the Kings. There's no reason to panic early on in this season. The Bucks had some issues early on in the season last year. They were only a 3 seed, right? But then they were dominant in the playoffs. Absolutely dominant. So they changed things up, and it gave them a better chance of winning in the playoffs. The previous season, they were the 1 seed in the regular season and lost in the second round to the 5th seed Miami Heat. So that's
swept
the thing.
them this year.
Yeah, the playoffs and the regular season are 2 different animals, so to say. You got to prepare yourself for the playoffs, even if it means maybe struggling a little bit to start the regular season.
So I guess they're picking apart the comment, dang, we're a lot further away than I thought we were at some moments.
Yeah, he said at times. Yeah. I mean, Like, that's the thing, is those people are going to pick apart everything that Chauncey says while they gave Stotts a pass for everything he said. Stotts said some ridiculous stuff last year. Some absolutely absurd things in post-game press conferences, and you didn't hear a peep from them. But now, since their favorite old man is gone, they will pick apart everything that Chauncey says.
Yep. And so, being a first-time coach, too, you don't know how long it's going to take to implement those things. So, the way I took that quote is he thought maybe some things he could just change right away. And, like, he realized, oh, I can't just, like, get, for example, Nurk finishing or whatever. Yeah. I can't just make Nurk finish in 2 weeks better. You know, like, it's going to take more than just that. But, like, maybe he thought he could just tweak something real quick and get it done. But that's part of learning on his end as well. So I think that's just part of the process of being a first-time coach. He's not saying, like, oh, man, the roster sucks. I thought it was much better than this, like some people are making it seem.
Yeah, and he's just being honest about it. Like, yeah, I don't understand why anybody would even have a problem with that. But, you know, they will want to... There are people out there that will want to have an issue with some of the things he says. The thing is I tried to avoid Terry Stotts' press conferences on stream. If you guys were tuning in for our post-game shows last year, you remember that, because I didn't want to be annoyed at the stuff Terry Stotts was saying. I didn't want to be. That's why I said, oh, you guys really want a Stotts press conference on the stream? I don't really feel like it. How many times did I say that? So it wasn't a situation where I'm going into streams wanting to pick apart and be annoyed at what the coach says. But this season you're going to have the other side of the coin. People that were pro Stotts, that didn't want to replace Terry Stotts with Chauncey, and they are going to want to pick apart and complain about anything that Chauncey says to fit their agenda, to fit their narrative. Right? So that's the thing I have issue with. Because I can just see people out there saying, oh, well, you had an issue with a lot of things Stotts said. Yeah, like when Stotts threw Derrick Jones Jr. under the bus. When Stotts said absurd things. I didn't want to have a problem with what Stotts was saying.
Oh, obviously Derrick Jones Jr. has an attitude problem and he's doing something wrong. Yeah,
that's the thing. Is Stotts would throw a guy like him under the bus and people just like, oh yeah, attitude issue. What?
Well, he's not good defensively anyway.
They just make up most ridiculous stuff to justify anything that Terry Stotts said. But they will pick it apart, man. They will absolutely pick it apart. So, I mean, it's going to be frustrating, but that's just the way it's going to be this year. Shout out JM1231, another $5 dono. He says, I turned into Jacked Ramsey's today, LOL. Well, it's a good thing that you're making up for it with a couple donos. I'm just teasing you. But he says he tuned into Jacked Ramsey's today, which is kind of the competing post-game show on YouTube now. He said, OMG, the number of cliches they use to analyze the game is unbelievable. Makes me appreciate you guys even more. And I'm glad that you feel that way, man. It means a lot to us. And I appreciate the support with the donations, and that's what we try and do, man, is we don't try to fake our knowledge with cliches and big words and trying to sound smart through our vocabulary. We try and break down the game in a way that you guys can understand. That's how we've always been. That's how we'll always continue to be. And we'll always try and be as unbiased as possible and just explain what we're seeing out there on the basketball court. That's the easiest way to do this. I'd get a headache if I was trying to do it any other way. So I'm glad that we have a viewer base that appreciates that. I appreciate your appreciation.
Apparently we're super toxic tonight, though.
Who said oh. Yeah, apparently, yeah. I can't believe you said that. Yeah. Nobody knows what we're talking about because we hit it. We don't even need to talk about that. But it's always funny, some of the chat comments we get.
But, like, I mean, if you want to accuse us of being too positive and not worried as much as we should be, fine. Like, I get that. But how are we at all toxic at any point in this conversation today?
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand. Yeah, that whole
So,
comment earlier made no sense to me.
and to JM's donation, thank you for that, JM. This is the kind of insight you get on the other channel. You know how I was hoping for that positive note to say, hey, there's something to build on? Yeah, that is dead and buried. That was a tweet from one of the hosts of that show. So, not a single thing you can learn from this game or talk about. So, that must have been a great show.
Okay. I don't understand. I don't understand, man. But that's the thing is, they fit some people's opinions, and those people will watch them. So I don't know. Like, I understand why some fans will be frustrated, and I've said that. And I gave JD. I was teasing him a little bit earlier. I understand the frustration with Nurkic, but I also say, we need to pump the brakes in terms of, I can't stand him, let's get rid of him, yada, yada, yada. Like, he absolutely needs to finish better, and I will point that out. It's just, I feel like some fans go a little bit overboard in terms of just get rid of him. You know what I mean? But I do understand the frustration because it frustrates me at times too. Absolutely. And you guys know I'm not scared to talk about what I'm frustrated with. This might be a complete change of pace for you guys as first 4 preseason games, but it's not even games that matter. And we have been considered the most critical coverage out there the past couple of years. So that's the thing, is we just call it like we see it. We're not being positive for the sake of positivity. It's our honest and true opinions, and I can understand why somebody might be a little bit more frustrated with the team right now than I am. Absolutely understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, and for those that didn't watch last year, I mean, how many times did I have to say, like, I'm a passionate fan. I do get emotional. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm sorry.
Excuse your frustration.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I get emotional and yell or rant or whatever, but like honestly, it's unhealthy, but my life is affected by how well the Blazers do. So, those of you who haven't seen that are probably like, wow, these guys are just calm about everything. Or like, it was not the case in years past, and it won't be if this year starts to go sideways, because I feel like we have a good team. I feel like the roster is talented. I know not many agree with me, and that's fine. But I think this team is going to be fine, and that's why I'm not worried about what our record is in preseason, because starting right now, that matters not at all. Like, that has no bearing on at anything that's going to happen from this point forward. So I'm just going to I'm going to be here like getting mad when we lose and happy when we win and all that kind of stuff. If we win but it's not playing a way that I think Chauncey should be having the team play, or how he said he's wanted the team to play, I will absolutely call that out. And we'll talk about it. But yeah, I'm definitely emotional, and I definitely will get mad at some point in this season, most likely.
Dude, it's just, here's the thing, is there's always going to be some people that either think you're being too positive or too negative.
Right.
You can never please everybody. Like, it's absolutely impossible, especially with this fan base as divided as this fan base is.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, it's impossible. So it's crazy for people that have been here for a while, seeing guys that say, now we're too optimistic. Trevin just said that in chat. It's just crazy how that works, man. It's can never please anybody. That's why I just hope people can tell that we're just coming with our honest opinions.
Yeah.
And as long as people are logical, I can disagree with somebody. As long as their standpoint is reasonable, I'm fine with it. The problem is when their standpoint is completely unreasonable and biased and ridiculous. That's when I'll be like, come on, let's be better than this. So that's kind of my issue with some people. Some people I disagree with, but I understand their viewpoint, and it's reasonable enough that, yeah, I can respect their difference of opinion. It's just the unreasonable stuff that is just like, and there's a ton of it out there that's the stuff that kind of I just get a chuckle from.
Mm-hmm. Well, so a lot of people who are critical of us last year, we just analyze and like tell you guys what we see. You don't have to agree with us. Like, we're just here saying what we see. But we had people tell us, oh, I can't wait for the coach to get fired so we can see what thing you complain about every post game now.
Yeah, like we were gonna.
It's like, well, okay, well, if we don't have a coach that's doing stupid things all season, then we will have something to complain about. So it's not. We didn't set out at no point. We're not Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless or anything. Like, we don't talk before the show. Hey, let's argue about something and let's have hot takes this episode or whatever. We just talk about what we see as we watch the games as Blazer fans, and yeah.
Yep. And
Lag.
might be lagging a little bit. Well, we are lagging. Why are we lagging? Well, that's a first in a while. Are we back yet? Let me know when we're back.
I think we're back.
That's our first lag spike of the season. So 4 games in, first lag spike. It's a lot better than it was the past couple of years. But yeah, stream's not dead. We're just lagging right now. So we're gonna wait for that to calm down.
It's also funny because a lot of those people said we were gonna. Once Stotts was gone, the only person left to turn on is Dame, and those are all the same people who did turn on Dame this summer. Whereas Tori and I, the whole summer, what did we tell you guys?
I mean, yeah. It's just here's where I stand at this point. Like,
you're muted.
No, I'm not.
Aeromancers. I don't know.
Weird. Chat, can y'all hear me? Or no? Can you hear me, Eric?
I can hear you, yeah.
Then they should be able to. My mic, I'm looking at my green light right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know, a little bit of a lag spike there. We rarely have those. We used to have those all the time. It used to be like once a stream. Now it's, got the 50-foot Ethernet cable. I always don't know which one to say. Got that connected and everything. So, I mean, here's the thing as I go into the season. I don't want to talk about narratives from, that show or, that kind of side of things too much. If you guys bring them up, if you guys donate, I'm free to give you my thought process on it. I'm free to give you, I'll give you my thoughts. I'm not scared to say what I think.
You're the Chauncey Billups of this show.
Yeah, I'm not scared to say what I think about it. And I'll just say this, when it comes to Danny Meringue, I don't like him personally. All right? And he probably tell you the same thing. And he should tell you the same thing because I know he doesn't like me personally. You know what I mean? So if he's going to bring me up, I hope he says, yeah, I don't like him personally. I'd be like, yep, okay, well, at least you're being honest. I'm not scared to be honest. I'll just say it right now. I don't like him personally. If you like him personally, fine. All right? I'm legitimately this season, I am not going to try and pay any attention to anything he says or anything about his show. Because now he's a YouTuber. He's not a post-game show host. We're in the same boat on this platform. So,
trying to copy this. Yeah,
it goes back 5 years.
Well,
I'll finish in a second. It goes back 5 years. So we talked, a bit about him last year. The thing is he was the post-game show host. This year, I'm legitimately not going to try and talk about him at all. But if you guys bring it up and I don't know, sure, I'll talk about it a little bit. Because that's the thing is he kind of represents a lot of opinions within the fan base, and me and Eric, we try and break down the game, and that's basically the substance of it, but we will touch on narratives from sections of the fan base and whatnot, so some of you guys might not enjoy that, but I know some of you guys do, so we will dabble in that here and there. This year, I'm just trying to focus on the team and just ignore a lot of the ridiculous stuff that's out there.
And for the record, the reason why it is personal with him is because he made it personal. He attacked both of us, called us names, did all kinds of stuff to us unprovoked for no reason.
Same thing with some of our most notable
and a
lot of the community.
Yeah, and a lot of people we like too. He attacked them as well, all for a basketball opinion. If you want to attack people because they do stupid things or whatever, that's one thing. But because we were critical of the coach, We got called several names by him, and
Neanderthals,
he went on the attack
flat earthers
against us and all that kind of stuff. So that it did become personal with him, and Tori and I knew him even before his Blazer Outsiders days and stuff like that. So yeah, that guy, we don't like him, and yeah, it's okay if you do though. We're never gonna tell you who to like or whatever. And if you don't want to watch us either, if you don't like our opinions, or if you think our show is too positive or too negative or whatever, like, we're just two guys talking about the Blazers. So we're not forcing anyone to watch. I hope you like the show, but we're not trying to like please anyone. We're just giving our opinion about our favorite team.
Yeah, I don't want to have this conversation in any stream this year. I feel like it's a good, just whatever.
Get it over with.
This for anybody who's new.
Preseason.
Anybody who's been here for a while knows what the deal is. Absolutely knows what the deal is. So I just, and that's the thing, is like, it goes back a while, and I, when I was like 25 years ago, I was a little bit of an asshole to him. I'll admit it, and I even apologized to him for it. I tried to make things cool, and it was not happening the other way around. And I'm not even gonna go into the substance of it. It's a personal thing. So, yeah, if you guys bring it up in a dono, we read all donos and we'll talk about all donos. So if you guys want us to talk about it and you don't know, then we will. But it's just this season I am tired of like having to try and I'm just tired of having like this specific conversation. You know what I mean? And just justifying our negativity or our positivity, or have discussions about people that we've just always been at odds with. Because I feel like we've had this conversation. This is probably the 20th time in terms of the last 2 years. Yeah. We haven't had it in a while, so we'll have it. Last preseason game where there's not as much to talk about, we'll have this conversation. And it's just, I'm just getting this out of the way. So hopefully during the regular season, we can just talk about basketball and focus on this team and actually break things down.
Yeah.
So, shout out Apples for a $3 Australian dono. He says Damian Lillard. So good segue off that topic to Damian Lillard. It'll be interesting to see how he plays on opening night in this new system, where if we're struggling, he's probably going to be more aggressive than he was at any time this preseason. So shout out Apples for the $3 Australian dono. We'll preview that upcoming game more, and we'll get into depth, and we'll be a little bit more prepared to tackle that on Wednesday before the game going live at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. We'll start with picks against the spread, then we'll preview Kings versus Blazers. Eric, it's 5 days away.
Thank you. Finally.
Yeah, dude. The whole
even the
fourth
short
quarter of
off
this game.
season.
Yeah, even though it's only 4 games, the whole fourth quarter of this game, I'm like, I'm so done with preseason. I don't care anymore about preseason, man. So, yeah, I'm ready for meaningful action and ready to get into things. So,
Mclemore, I'm 42. Thanks.
Yeah. What did he say you were?
He said I was 44.
Yeah, come on, get it right. He's only 42.
Gosh.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to cover in terms of this game or anything?
No, I'm just, now that it's going to matter, I'm interested to see what that looks like and what Billups does to adjust when things aren't working. And I like, that's why I like what he said is, you can stop adding stuff to it and making it harder, but that he doesn't think you should take stuff away or like go back on anything. So I like that he thought what's in place, he feels like they can comprehend it enough to make it work in a game, and he'll add wrinkles there. And I also like that he specifically mentioned in the half-court offense the second and third options needing to get better, because that's something that like the Warriors did tonight, exploit those second and third options against teams, and it makes you that much harder to guard. So I'm excited to see what that looks like translating to a real game that matters, and not have to worry about, oh, was it because we didn't play our starters or what happened?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep. Yeah, so if you're not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to our main channel, head over to our main channel. I feel like as this channel grows, we're going to be pulling in people through this channel that may not know our main channel exists, so let me put it in chat for you guys. We're also doing a giveaway, opening night tickets, 300 level, not, great, but it's opening night. And it's tickets to opening night. So if you want to go see a Blazer game, we're giving away opening night tickets to someone who buys merch between now and October 18th. We're going to draw out of people who bought merch on October 18th on Blazers Uprise Live. We're going to do that drawing live. You just have to be able to attend the game and use the tickets. Otherwise, obviously, doesn't really work. So if you want to go buy merch, I will plug that link in chat as well. It's just blazersuprise.com/merch. Got mouse pads, got hoodies, got phone cases. That's the merch that we have live right now. I want to do some cool stuff in the future, so that'll be, we'll have new things every once in a while. So definitely go buy merch, and you have a chance to win free tickets. I think that's a pretty cool giveaway. As far as chat goes, I just want you guys to know I do read more than half the comments, and I think you probably do too, Eric. It's tough talking about basketball as in-depth as we do, and then actually saying what's said in chat live on stream and tying it in. You guys have a lot of great comments, and I really love the engagement in chat and being able to read that while I'm talking or while Eric's talking. And so don't think it's a situation where we're just completely ignoring chat. I know we've had a couple people feel like that in the past, but it's hard to break things down as well as read comments in chat out loud. On post-game streams starting on next Wednesday on opening night, we're going to try and have a couple little 5-minute slots where we just tune in with chat. So we're going to try and make that just a time that we can set aside, maybe in between segments talking about the team and before we talk about individual players, where we can just read off comments in chat, because you guys post a lot of good stuff in there. And, I definitely want to try and do that a little bit more. So just know, even if we're not reading off your comments from chat, we're still reading chat. So we appreciate your engagement.
And if you ever feel like we're ignoring you or you're trying to get our attention and it's not happening, I'm always free to talk. I try to respond to every message on Discord or Twitter. So that's two of the ways you can get a hold of me personally, and I'll try to at least respond back to you. And make sure...
I will admit, Eric's better at responding than I am on that type of stuff. A lot of times I like to just check out from Twitter and basketball in general. So I do try to respond as well. It's just, it's always good for me to check out every now and then. But yeah, we do read off all donations. I know it's, not, I don't know. I feel kind of like I don't try and make it sound like, oh, we'll read off your comment if you give us money, but we do read off all donations, and we appreciate any support that you give us that way. I just will definitely try and make time in each post-game stream coming up to just read off comments straight from chat, so it's not a situation where you have to donate to necessarily be a part of the conversation on air.
Also, try to have some awareness for what we're talking about. So, at the beginning of a stream where we're breaking down what happened in a game or talking about individual players, we're not going to talk about Ben Simmons, so, if you're mad that we're not talking about who we should trade for Ben Simmons in the first 10 minutes of a post-game show, that's kind of on you to be aware that that we have a certain structure to our post-game shows, and those kind of questions. And like I mentioned to Adam Smits in chat, he was asking about Giles and Hartenstein earlier, and we're just started talking about the game. So we don't need to talk about that kind of stuff right.
See, that's the thing. That's a good question too.
Yeah. It's not that we don't want to talk about it. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, don't really have time for that per se.
Well,
but that's like,
we brought it up earlier.
yeah, I mean that's a really good question. It's just like at that point in time with what we're talking about, just not something that we just stop and answer. But it always sucks because somebody will ask a good question that's like a good question for later that doesn't necessarily fit the conversation. So that's why I'm going to try and have a couple little 5-minute segments on post-game streams this year where we just read chat. And if you guys don't have anything, we can just banter or whatever, but we'll try and read off stuff from chat. And I feel like that'll kind of be a fun way to, we get serious and break things down and then can kind of relax and talk about whatever with you guys for a good 5 minutes, then get back into things. So, yeah. Twitter handles are in chat as well. Go ahead.
I just linked Discord as well. So
Discord, Twitter handles, all that good stuff. This audio will be on Spotify. We've been uploading audio to all our streams on Spotify, so definitely go check that out. As I said, Blazers Uprise live on Monday, 9:30 p.m. Maybe we can do awards predictions or something.
Yeah.
Like that, something fun.
Season preview, awards predictions, and we need chat to participate too. So we'll have.
Yeah.
I'll write down chat's majority picks as well, and we'll have some fun.
Or we could do a poll.
We could do polls. I guess we could have another option and then just have vote, but yeah. So we'll do. I'll write it all down, and then at the end of the season, we can see who had the best predictions between chat and Tori and I, and some of the mods and stuff. So that'll be fun as well.
Yep. That'll be a fun stream. Hopefully, you're able to catch it. It's always cool when people aren't usually able to catch our streams live and then they can catch it live. So appreciate you, Adam. Glad that you could catch us live tonight. We'll do awards predictions on Monday, and then on Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. picks against the spread. If you guys are new to our channel and haven't seen picks against the spread, it's probably my favorite segment of any that we do.
Even last year?
I mean, shut your mouth. So Eric won it last year. We just pick games based on the spread. It's not, actual betting or anything, but we pick that day's action based on the spread. Me and Eric pick, all of our mods pick, and then chat picks as well. Now we have a poll feature, so it'll be a little bit easier to have chat vote on games, and we keep track of records, and it's a lot of fun. I'm working on a brand new graphics package for that. Go all out with the graphics for that, and it's a fun experience. So definitely Wednesday, make sure to tune in if you can. And yeah, I think I've plugged everything. We got a lot of stuff to plug now. I'm going to kind of plug it throughout the streams from now on. I'm going to make graphics and whatnot and try and just make it flow a little bit better, because I'm always like, what do I got to plug? What do I got to plug at the end of every stream? Because it's a bunch of stuff. We're doing a lot. So I think that's about it.
Yeah, and for those in chat, or saying chat almost won, chat over 500. Yeah, that's kind of ignoring their massive choke job the last few weeks of the season, though.
We're gonna have to recap what happened at the start of that segment.
Yes.
Records.
I think I could put the records into a slideshow to see how they progressed over the last couple of months. I don't know. We'll do something to recap it last year. That'll be fun. SeatGeek plug. Oh yeah, if you want tickets, use SeatGeek. Use our promo code Uprise. We shortened it. It's not Blazers Uprise. It's just Uprise now. Easier on you. Saves you a little bit of time. So if you want tickets, use our promo code Uprise on SeatGeek.com, and you'll save $20. So yeah, we'll have a graphic for that and everything. I'll try and just make things a little bit more entertaining, and gonna try to add more elements graphically to post game shows once the season rolls underway. Before we hit the outro, did you see my my promo for the video today? What'd you think about that?
The Jimmy Butler. I liked your find out why all these guys are being compared or whatever. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to start doing with that with videos, because that was fun.
I already know why, but it was still funny to me.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen what I'm talking about, go to Blazers Uprise at Blazers Uprise YT. That's our channel's Twitter account. And we have to thank Gray Hughes. Appreciate your reminder, Gray Hughes. $5 dono. Let's just cap things off with a Blazer thing. So Gray Hughes says, I think the problem with what Billups said at the end is him mentioning how he is just learning and feeling more comfortable. Dame needs a ready coach. And I could understand why people would think that, but it's not a situation where he's a bad coach right now, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. If he feels uncomfortable, that doesn't necessarily mean he's a bad coach. I think if you brought in a coach who felt super comfortable, that wanted to do all these things, it wouldn't be any better right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's a problem with him being a rookie coach. It's just this team is learning how to play a completely different style of ball. And when he's asked about being a first-time head coach, he's not used to it yet, which should be expected. So I don't think those necessarily correlate. Maybe if they don't pick it up as fast as they should, maybe then that's a conversation. But at this point, I almost want a coach that isn't completely comfortable. We saw how comfortable Stotts was the past few years, and therefore he was just stuck in his ways and didn't try and change anything. He tried to change the defense for one preseason game. It didn't work. Went back to what he was comfortable with because he was stuck in his comfort zone. So I almost want a guy that's uncomfortable. But I understand why people would be like, he isn't comfortable yet. That might be a little bit of a red flag. I just don't think it's, I don't think it's actually a problem right now.
Yeah. So 2 things I want to say to that. One, those same people better not be the same people that said we should have hired Becky Hammond then, because we'd have been, in a similar boat. Obviously the PR would have been a lot different this summer, but in terms of on the floor coaching, we would have had the same problems with the rookie coach if that is the problem. And then the second thing I want to say is, much like when you have a rookie or a young player, in our case, and Anthony Simons or a Nas Little, where if they pop, it changes the level of your team's contention possibly. I believe a coach can be that same way. So I like the fact that they took a risk on someone who has the highest possible potential to change it if it's ever going to change with this team. If we would have just hired a Mike D'Antoni, sure, maybe we win a few more games, maybe we get out of the first round or something, but I don't think it necessarily raises the ceiling to a point where it's that much different than with Stotts. So I like the fact that they took a risk, knowing all that was on the line. And I think, just the way the guys talk about Billups and the way he is respected around the league, if there is anyone who can talk these guys and get them to play the way they need to play to take that next step, I think it's Billups. And I think that's pretty obvious. So it's either going to work out because he's a good coach and he gets through to him, or maybe this roster isn't as good as I thought. And I'll gladly admit I was wrong about that. But I feel like they made the right move in terms of on the court, if it's ever going to work out and if it's going to give this roster a chance, you need a coach that can raise the ceiling. Now, Billups might not be able to do that, but I feel like that is the risk you have to take in order to take that next step if you weren't going to change the roster drastically.
Yep. So I don't think it's a situation where Dame feels like Dame has an issue with what Chauncey said, because Greg Hughes says he likes Chauncey. He just wonders what Dame thinks here and that. And I don't think it's a situation where Dame has an issue with that. Chauncey's coming from a place of honesty, and anybody that was expecting him to be completely comfortable as a first-time head coach 4 games in when he's never done it before is kind of being unreasonable. So I don't think it's a situation where, Dame is saying, oh, wow, you're not completely comfortable and used to being a head coach yet, even though you've had 4 preseason games, has an issue with that. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's to be expected. And Chauncey's obviously just being honest, and it's completely reasonable. So I don't think it's anything that Dame would have an issue with. But yeah, thank you for the donation, Gray Hughes. You're always very supportive of us, and it means the world.
Yep.
So let's wrap this thing up. We're 2 hours in. I said this is only going to be an hour post-game show before this. It's 2 hours, so appreciate you guys sticking with us. No, I mean, it's completely fine. It's not your fault. I don't know why you're apologizing. It's a lot of conversations to be had as we set up for the preseason, and we kind of went on a tangent there and just setting things up for the season, just getting things out of the way before we jump into meaningful post-game shows, Eric. So I'm excited for that. We'll have some more videos up between now and Monday's stream. I'm going to try and finish the player preview series by Monday's stream. That is the goal. And then Monday, I want to do a mailbag because I haven't done one of those in a while. So a mailbag on Monday. I will post a prompt for that in the community tab of the main channel. So definitely stay on the lookout for that. There's playlists linked in the main channel too. So if you don't ever go to the main channel page, if you go there, you can watch videos based on playlists. So if you want to catch up on player preview videos, you can easily do it by clicking on playlist through there. And you can also, stay tuned with the community tab because I'm going to try and post a little bit more in the community tab this year. Might be an occasional poll question or just something fun. I don't know. But that's where I will ask for mailbag questions. So that will be the plan for Monday. With that being said, anything you want to leave us with, Eric?
Oh, thank you everyone for watching. Really appreciate you. And tune in. The next post-game show we have will look a lot different if that's something you're into in terms of graphics and stuff like that. Tori's got a lot of cool stuff planned for the actual games this year, so we'll have some. It won't just be us sitting here like this. There'll be a lot of other stuff on the screen, and should be pretty cool.
Yep. Gonna tie some things up. Also, might have a new camera. Also, Eric's camera might look better. So we're just trying to find ways to improve the stream. Have some things that I've been waiting to implement. Couple people helping me in the community with some of that. So I'm very excited for that. Wednesday should be really fun with the graphics on Blazers Uprise Live and the post-game graphics. So hopefully you call in sick and tune in for that stream. If not, you can catch it later, So anyway, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Wednesday. And Monday should be fun too with Blazers Uprise Live going up at 9:30 p.m. That's when we will see you live next. So you good, Eric?
Yep.
Alrighty. We'll catch you on Monday. Hope you have a good rest of your Friday night and a good weekend. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.